Hello, Finland. It is wonderful to be able to join you on Global Customer Experience Day, a fantastic celebration of our profession and the wonderful things that people like you and I do all around the world to ensure that customers and people are put at the forefront of the minds of organisations. My name is Ian Golding. I am a Global Customer Experience Specialist, and I have the real pleasure of being able to join some of you, hopefully many of you, in Helsinki next year on the 7th and 8th of May 2019 to deliver a Customer Experience Masterclass, because sharing knowledge on this subject is very, very core to what I believe in and what I do, but I'll come back to that in a moment. I am actually recording this video in a hotel room, which is not me showing off, but is actually, unfortunately, quite typical for me. I'm actually in Madrid at the moment, and I am someone who spends much of his time travelling around the world, speaking to leadership, to other practitioners, to peers about the subject of customer experience. And, you know, it's so wonderful to see so many of you gathered in Helsinki, in Finland, to continue to evolve the profession that customer experience has become. And I'm delighted to know just how significant the profession is in your part of the world. I have actually been to Helsinki before. I have delivered workshops for a pharmaceutical organisation in Helsinki, and I have very, very fond memories of your wonderful city and your wonderful country, of the incredibly warm welcome and the great experiences. The only bad recollection I have of Helsinki was getting very lost when I went for a run at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I shan't say much more about that. The reason that I am very fortunate to be able to speak to you all, if not in person, but via the power of video, is because I want to always take the opportunity to reassure people that what we're doing as a profession is vitally, vitally important. And it becomes ever more important when we realise just how far the world has to go to even claim to be really customer-focused, customer-centric, to really understand what customer experience is. We live in a world, and I know that it is no different in the Nordics, in your part of the world, as it is in the UK, but we live in a world where customer experience is something that is spoken about continuously and increasingly by people, leaders, organisations, by journalists all around the world. Only yesterday, someone sent me an article that was published in a magazine called Marketing Week, that was an article about the top 50 customer experience professionals in the world. And whilst I don't want to belittle the 50 people that were named, these were 50 people working within corporate organisations with customer experience or something similar in their job title. Many of the organisations in that top 50 list are not organisations that I, as an independent observer of the subject, would consider to be anything like a customer-centric organisation. There is so much misunderstanding and confusion, and it's why our profession, as I say, is so vitally important, that we continue to educate, to do the things we do, to increase the understanding of what customer experience actually is. There are many reasons why organisations are failing to truly adopt a customer-centric approach. Some of these are cultural reasons. Some of these are down to a lack of understanding of purpose, why the organisation exists in the first place. And sometimes this is down to the unfortunate desire for many corporate organisations to put making money above and beyond any other objective, failing to recognise that actually if they just fulfilled their purpose in the first place, then they might actually make more money. But there is another reason why organisations are struggling to do this. I have been involved in customer experience for around 24 years, for 17 of those years as a practitioner on the inside, and for the last almost 7 years working independently across a variety of different organisations in different industries across 39 countries around the world. And one of the things that I fail to see very often is an organisation having any structure or rigour to manage their customer experience. In other words, too many organisations are doing customer experience accidentally. And the reason I say that phrase is that, among other things, I am the course director for the Chartered Institute of Marketing, and a very senior marketing director who came on one of my masterclasses last year said to me that I've made him realise that that is what his organisation has been doing. They have been doing customer experience by accident. And what he meant is that he finally realised that they didn't have a plan. They didn't have any intentional approach to making it happen. And he is not alone. So many businesses think that they can just talk about it and it happens. But the reality is that whilst many organisations are talking about it, as consumers, we still are having on a daily basis experiences that are far and away from our basic needs and expectations. So what I want you to be inspired with today is each other, is the progress that you're all making, but also to be inspired to ensure that the organisations you work in and with are adopting an intentional approach to customer experience through the introduction of a customer experience framework. A framework provides the structure and rigour to make sure that customer experience happens in the short term, the medium term, and most importantly, the long term. As with everything in our subject, it's not black and white. There is no one way to introduce that rigour, a framework. But let me quickly share with you a very simple, generic framework that forms the basis of the knowledge that I share during my masterclasses. The framework that I describe is very simple intentionally because it is adaptable to any organisation of any shape or size anywhere in the world. The framework has 3 parts to it. The first part is called strategy, the second part is called measurement, the third part is called people. The strategy part of the framework, first of all, is essentially 3 questions. 3 what should be very simple questions. The questions being, number 1, do you know who your customers are? Number 2, do you know what you want their experience to be? And number 3, does everyone in the organisation know what their role is in delivering that experience? Whilst they are 3 very simple questions, I can tell you now that many organisations can't answer them. They think they can answer them, but in reality, they struggle. And as a result, they identify that there is a lack of clarity in the organisation. And if there is a lack of clarity, it makes it very challenging when you move to the next part of the framework, the bit we call measurement, or sometimes the facts. This is where the customer journey comes in, because it is the customer journey that should be bringing your strategy to life. But this is also the part of the framework that organisations are doing least well, because too many businesses, too many organisations have obsessed themselves with mapping customer journeys. But this part of the framework, the measurement part of the framework, is not just about mapping the customer journey, it is about managing the customer journey. And to manage the journey, mapping it must be understood to be only one of a number of activities. Once you have mapped your journey, you need to measure it. Once you've measured it, you need to identify the priorities that need to be addressed. Once you've identified the priorities, you need to address them so you can see a demonstrable improvement in customer perception and commercial performance. And once you've seen that, you then do it all over again, and all over again, and all over again until the end of time. Customer journey mapping is not a one-off activity. Customer journey management is a continuous, never-ending cycle of activity. And this part of the framework is the part that is being done least well of all. And then the third part of the framework is as important as the other two. And it is the bit that is all about people. Because you cannot deliver an experience without them. And in fact, the most customer-centric organisations on earth would argue that you should actually put your own people first if you want to have any hope of being able to put your customer at the forefront of everything you do. The people part of the framework is all about creating an environment, a culture that turns people into those who aren't just engaged with their jobs, but people who are advocates, fans of your strategy, of your customers, of each other, of the whole organisation. People that will do whatever it takes to deliver the experience the organisation wants its customers to have. A customer experience framework, like the very simple one I have described, is a metaphorical jigsaw puzzle. Many organisations, yours included, will probably have pieces of the jigsaw already. But just having those pieces is not enough. Unless you are able to connect them together, you will never be able to see the picture, that vision of what the organisation wants its customer experience to be. So I urge you on Customer Experience Day to take time to reflect, take time to celebrate, take time to reassure yourselves that without you, it is extremely unlikely that the language of customer experience would even be in the vernacular of organisations around the world. But also focus on what next. How can you continue to create, embed and adopt an intentional focus on customer experience? And just to close off, I want to leave you with a quote from a very senior leader of a bank, actually a bank in South Africa that I work with, who at the end of a session said to me, Ian, you know, I always knew that customer experience was important, but I didn't realise it was a science. And behind the science is a heart. And I think it's a wonderful expression of what customer experience is all about. So thank you. Thank you for listening to this short video. I hope you have a wonderful Customer Experience Day, and I hope that you continue to change, inspire, and drive a ever better focus on customer experience in whichever organisations you work in or with. Have a lovely day. Thank you.